Let me say this for Michigan State. I really fully expected a team much more in disarray than the one we saw tonight. I had to give them credit. I thought they had a solid plan coming in and executed pretty well and didn't shoot themselves in the foot too much at all, played with pretty good poise on the road. This was their first road game, right?
Correct.
So overall, I was more impressed with Michigan State than what I expected. Having said that, I think you're right. I don't think they're going to be fighting for the East title, that's for sure. They're going to finish as an also-ran, I do believe. But I was impressed that they played. I thought they played hard, didn't give up, made it an interesting game all the way through, did all those things. So I give credit to their coaches and the players for putting up a good fight, I thought, because I think they are limited with what they can do. One thing that comes to mind for me, you got a pretty good picture tonight of the benefit of having a more mobile quarterback. There were times when somebody took Kim and said, okay, we're just going to run around the end here. And oh, by the way, that back's offset to the side of the sweep. So because you're carrying the ball, we picked up an extra blocker. So let's see if we can't do some good with that. And I think they averaged at least 5 yards every time he ran the sweep. And, of course, he did a good job extending quite a few plays and did a decent job of throwing the ball away. I thought overall he played as well as you might expect a young guy to do. I think he's only a sophomore, isn't he? I think. I'm not sure. So on a positive note, we still only gave up, it looks like one play I see for Michigan State gained 20 yards.
Correct.
So we did it was a repeat of Penn State in some ways. They only had one explosive play tonight, not none as Penn State had. Let me verify that. Yeah, they did have a reception of 20 yards by Trey Mosley. According to this, I suspect that's right. And they outgained us in a lot of different areas, as you know. 20 first downs to 10. I'm sorry, 20 to 15. That's disappointing. Outrushed us considerably, almost by 100 yards. Hard to win when you get outrushed by 100 yards, but we were able to do it tonight. 156 versus our 61. Of course, they had a few more attempts than we did, but bottom line, their average was more than twice what ours was with yards per carry. Our three backs, if you look at them, they had 22 carries for 70 yards, so we averaged about 317 or something, less than 3.2 for the night. We didn't have a great completion percentage. I think you've already touched on it, Corey. Part of that was simply related to the fact that we didn't make the play when we had a chance to make it. Receivers had some chances that they weren't able to convert on. So I don't know how many drops. You had a better look at that than I did because you were sitting at home and able to chart that if you wanted to.
Well, I can tell you real quick that NBC posted a graphic during the game and they counted 6 drops.
Yeah. Well, that's probably accurate because whoever's doing that for NBC has a good idea what a drop should be. You've always heard me say a ball, if a receiver sells out and the ball skips off his fingertips, that is not a drop. But anything short of that, and yes, it is a drop. Our old adage was if you can touch it, you can catch it.
Right.
And that's what good receivers do.
A couple of questions here. First of all, I'm only reading this because it's a super chat. Brody, appreciate the super chat. He says, Bacon Hill for president.
Is that a cousin of Deacon?
No, I think it's Deacon.
That's Deacon.
So thank you, Brody, for that. He's trying to get the trend, the nickname started. Brody, thank you for also becoming a member here on the show. So appreciate that from Brody. What did you think of Deacon overall, Don?
You know, he played a lot, kind of what I thought he would. He demonstrated tonight he got a good live arm.
Yep.
That's a little bit of a problem. There are certain balls that require better touch. You know, it's okay. It doesn't have to always be a fastball. It's okay to take a prime example would be those guys playing on Sunday. If they have to really gun the ball, they do it. If they can take a little pace off the ball and still have it on target with a good catch, logically that's a better thing to do, of course, because the ball's a little bit easier to catch if it's not high velocity. So it looks to me like he doesn't really thoroughly understand touch yet. That's not a surprise at this point. that's something you kind of have to learn. But I do think he had a good awareness of the clock. It appeared we didn't have any of those issues. I think we took one timeout to avoid a delay. I'm sure I'll be able to find a couple of 3 poor decisions in there. It's hard to play a football game as a quarterback without a poor decision, because you have a chance to mess up a lot. And it may look easy from the seats. You might say, why in God's name did he throw it to him? Because you saw another guy that was more open. Well, you had the vantage point of sitting 20 rows up and being able to see better than a guy can in the pocket, because these defensive players have an annoying habit of trying to wrestle you to the ground while you're back there trying to find a receiver. So receiver selection, not all bad, certainly. I mean, we hit some passes when we needed to. I will give credit to the coaches. I thought we did a better job to start the game by giving our guys a chance to throw some high percentage passes and showing some faith in our receivers that they might catch a short ball and be able to make someone miss. We did that. And for that matter, Michigan State did it to us some too. But at least I was glad to see that, because we were giving credit to our receivers. Listen, if we throw it to you 4 yards downfield, we don't expect you to gain 4. We expect you to have yards after the catch. And we had significant yardage after the catch. The most obvious would be the touchdown, of course, to Eric. Really nice job of running with the ball afterward. I know the defensive staff for Michigan State would probably simply say it's shoddy tackling, but we got to give some credit to Eric for being pretty violent with how he ran down the field. So that was good to see. I was impressed with their punter until we got into the fourth quarter, because our punter was more reliable than theirs. Theirs only shanked one all night, but he gave us a short field, gave us a chance to hit the tying field goal. And then, of course, on that last one, that's the ball that we would label as a returner, meaning it's got a lot of distance, but it doesn't have the hang time it should have. And that returner is going to have a chance to catch it and then figure out what he wants to do with it before anyone shows up to make a tackle. That's precisely what happened. Those last 2 punts cost him dearly. He was a good punter for most of the night, but those 2 absolutely ruined their evening, because they directly contributed to our last 10 points.